My laboratory at Stanford University School of Medicine, in collaboration with a colleague of mine, Dr. David Spiegel, our Associate Chair of Psychiatry, also at Stanford University School of Medicine, published a clinical trial in Cell Reports Medicine showing that there's a particular pattern of breathing that people can do for just 5 minutes per day that is effective in significantly improving various metrics related to mood and reducing anxiety and also improving sleep. Although I should say the protocol I'm about to describe didn't uniformly improve all of those metrics. It had a bigger effect on some versus others. I'll provide a link to that study in the show note captions. But if you're wondering what this protocol is that people did for 5 minutes a day that allowed them to, by the way, pervasively improve their mood. So it wasn't just their mood while they were doing this 5 minute a day protocol. It was improvements in mood around the clock, essentially, as well as improvements in other physiological metrics and other aspects of those 6 core pillars. It was that physiological sigh that we talked about earlier. Although in this case, we didn't have people do just one physiological sigh. We had people set aside 5 minutes per day. So set a timer for 5 minutes. They could sit or lie down. They could do it any time of day. And we just had them repeat that physiological sigh for a duration of 5 minutes total, so that they would do 2 inhales through the nose and then a full exhale to lungs empty through the mouth. Then they would do it again, and then they would do it again and again until those 5 minutes were completed. Again, the outcome of that clinical trial was that that particular pattern of breathing, which we called cyclic physiological sighing for 5 minutes per day, again done any time of day, had the most positive outcomes in terms of improving mood and mental health and autonomic function, those things related to sleep and heart rate variability. So that's a very simple, very minimal time investment, zero cost tool that anyone can use that, again, improves various metrics of physical health, but also improves metrics of mental health. And it ties right back in with what was observed in the work by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, exploring how putting more word label emotional granularity on one's emotional states positively impact our physiological state. And the fact that thinking about our emotions more frequently throughout the day and deliberately putting more label granularity on those emotions frequently throughout the day is correlated with this improvement in respiratory sinus arrhythmia and heart rate variability. The fact that these things all relate to one another should not surprise us, because indeed there's a previous paper. This is a quite extensive review. Actually, it's a very nice review. It's one that I encourage anyone who's interested in these topics to explore, especially psychologists who might have an interest in physiology, or psychiatrists, or simply people who are interested in mind-body stuff. This is a review published in 2017 in the journal Biological Psychology entitled Cardiac Vagal Control as a Marker of Emotion Regulation in Healthy Adults, a review. And again, it's a really wonderful literature review of the peer-reviewed primary research, which really establishes that this thing, vagal tone, our ability to kind of put the brakes on our autonomic nervous system and slow our heart rate down deliberately through our breathing, and perhaps even just by stopping and reflecting on what our emotional states are, is really beneficial for our overall mood and mental health. And I want to highlight, bold, and underline that word overall, because it's not just the case that people experience elevated mood and mental health in the moments where they stop and go, oh, how am I feeling? Oh, am I feeling, bored or agitated? Do I feel particularly excited? Sure, that can have some impact on physiological metrics and mood and mental health. But in all of these studies, the outcome seems to be that people's overall levels of mood and mental health are enhanced, not just while they're thinking about their emotions or doing this 5 minute a day cyclic sighing, but around the clock, which is really terrific, because I think that's what most all of us want, which is improved mood and mental health, not just in the moments when we do a practice or in the few minutes afterwards, but 24 hours a day. I suppose we might segment out sleep, during which, hopefully we're having great dreams as opposed to other kinds of dreams. But the point is, everyone, I have to imagine, would like to feel better and have elevated mood and mental health during the times when they're awake. And indeed, these sorts of protocols have been shown to do that, or so say the scientific data. You simply do a big inhale through your nose, try and maximize the inflation of your lungs, and then before you exhale, sneak in another brief inhalation, even if it's just a tiny micro inhalation, to maximally inflate the lungs. And that has an important effect on the little sacs in the lungs called the alveoli of the lungs. It's going to open up whatever alveoli were collapsed in there. And then you're going to do a long extended exhale through the mouth. And typically just one, although sometimes it requires two or three, but just one physiological sigh is effective in bringing down one's level of stress significantly enough that you don't need to do it again. So this can be done essentially anywhere and by anyone. I suppose you probably couldn't do it if you were underwater, or certainly don't do it if you're underwater. But otherwise, it's a very safe and very effective way to calm down and reduce your levels of stress in real time, maybe before public speaking or in whatever circumstance you feel you need to calm down in real time. So I'll demonstrate the physiological side for you here. I've done this many times before in previous episodes, but for those of you that haven't heard or seen those episodes, I feel obligated to do it again now. Okay, so it's a deep inhale through the nose, followed by another brief inhale through the nose, and then a long exhale through the mouth. And before you start asking questions about, well, what do I do if I have a deviated septum? Can it be just through the mouth? Do the first two through the nose, do the third through the mouth. So it's like this. And indeed, I feel calmer. And indeed, if you do it, you will feel calmer. You'll notice that second inhale through the nose was kind of sharp in the sense that I had to really push, put some physical effort into making it happen. And, my shoulders jolted upwards. If you were just listening to this and not watching, my shoulders jolted upwards. That second inhale through the nose is important for a variety of reasons I've talked about elsewhere. So the physiological sigh is going to be the go-to protocol for you. Again, not invented by me. This is not Huberman breathing. This is a pattern of breathing discovered in the 1930s by physiologists. It's hardwired into our nervous system, and that's what makes it so great. It works the first time, and it works every time. So that's, to my knowledge, the best way to control your stress in real time.